It's Monday night, and you know what that means. Jersey First TV probably brings to you the latest edition of Real Talk, and I am New Jersey's premier and now seven-time, that's right, folks, seven-time award-winning journalist, top 100 Latino via the Latino Spirit online magazine for 2020, 2021, and now in 2022, as well as the Garden State's most beloved and factually accurate Hispanic commentator. Yes, it's me, Fernando Uribe. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, happy October. As you can tell here, I'm rocking the pink, and so is Jersey First throughout Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So we're proud to partner here with Making Strides Against Breast Cancer and also the American Cancer Society. As you know, my annual event to benefit Making Strides Against Breast Cancer is this Thursday night at the world-famous Son Cubano, located along the waterfront in West New Jersey at 40-4 Riverwalk Place. It's a wonderful event. Of course, it is my annual edition of A Professor's Quest to Save Breasts. We'll have great raffles, excellent networking opportunities, and certainly outstanding music. And certainly Son Cubano, the view sells itself. Great service by them. It's an amazing venue, folks. Make sure you come out this Thursday night, starting at 7 p.m. And we're going all night long until 1 in the morning as we party for such a great cause. And together we can defeat breast cancer once and for all. And again, here on Jersey First TV, of course, on the show as well, we're rocking pink throughout the month of October. I want to thank you all for joining us here from wherever and however you may be doing so on the Jersey First YouTube page, also on my own Facebook, on Facebook Live via StreamYard, on the Fernando Uribe Jr. page. Again, the main page is sort of restricted right now. You know how Mark Zuckerberg is against conservatives, but we're still getting great traffic, folks, on the Facebook Live, on the Fernando Uribe Jr. page, as well as on my LinkedIn, on Twitter, in addition to great pages on Facebook as well. Folks, the traffic speaks for itself. Unlike other journalists in New Jersey, or so-called journalists, right, more like propagandists, who get 20, 30, maybe 100 views on their traffic. No, ladies and gentlemen, Fernando Uribe here is getting thousands of views every week. So I must be doing something right. But more importantly, it's due all to you, great folks at home, who make it a point to tune in every Monday night live at 6 p.m. here on Jersey First TV. And of course, make sure sharing is caring. Share it real quick, folks, on all of your social media platforms here tonight. Folks, hope you had a wonderful weekend. I sure did. Let me have a little tea here, a little victory tea. My Dallas Cowboys 4-1 with the baby goat Cooper Rush. Cooper is super, folks. That's right. And, taking care of the world champs last night in Los Angeles, taking care of the AFC champs a couple weeks ago. Yes, and we'll head down to the toilet bowl of these United States. Yes, we'll head down to Philadelphia this Sunday night as America's team is going to clip those wings on those insufferable Eagles and their fans. Well, guess what? We're coming down. Cowboy Nation's going to invade the city of brotherly love. And you know what? There ain't a damn thing you can do about it, because Cowboy Nation is coming down, and they're coming home with a W. That's for sure. Once again, folks, I want to thank you all for tuning in from wherever and however you may be doing so. Don't forget, sharing is caring here on the program. And part of the success, ladies and gentlemen, is the outstanding guests that I have every single week. But also, too, I don't want anyone to ever say that I'm not compassionate, that I'm someone that cares for my fellow man. And you know what? If you have the chance, call your local police department. And if you can, file a missing persons report, because for whatever reason, I don't know what's going on, but I can't find anybody who's a New York Met fan, right? It seems like for weeks and weeks, right? Whether it was Uncle Dave with NJTV, or NJ Spotlight News, Uncle Dave, David Cruz, or Sleepy Al, Alan Steinberg, who talked and talked and talked about their New York Mets. Folks, you know what happens every October. When you're the New York Mets, you know what happens. You're going home. And that's exactly what happened this weekend. And it just as a reminder, folks, for everyone watching at home, fans of the evil empire like myself, whether you like it or you don't like it, you need to sort of accept it. The Yankees run New York. And for whatever reason, again, put it up, file a missing persons report, because for whatever reason, I'm looking around and I can't seem to find any Mets fans. They're quiet for the last couple of weeks, and they're certainly quiet today. I don't know. I mean, I'm sort of looking around. I can't find Met fans anywhere. They've been especially quiet, and they'll continue to be quiet every October. And, oh, well, folks, there's always next year when you're a fan of the New York Mets. All right, ladies and gentlemen, certainly a little being a little braggadocious as I like to be on this show. But again, I want to thank you for joining us here on Jersey First TV. And folks, one of the reasons, as I said earlier, that this show continues to be an overwhelming success with considerable traffic. Not 100 views, not 200 views like some other propagandists in New Jersey. We're talking about 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and plus vote. You know, that's what it is, folks. That's the amount of views that Real Talk with Jersey First TV continues to get on Facebook, on YouTube, and also on Instagram as well, and also on Twitter. Folks, you know, it's not bragging, ladies and gentlemen, if you can back it up. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what we do every single week here. And of course, the success of the show is predicated on having wonderful guests and exclusive guests. And this week is no exception. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me here tonight, he is the distinguished immediate past president of the Rutgers Business School Alumni Association, a fellow Rutgers alumnus and a very proud Latino himself, a member of the top Latino countdown on the Latino Spirit, folks. He is the great Jorge Cabrera, joining us here on Real Talk.
Hey, Fernando, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. How was your summer, man? You know, happy October to you. How was your summer?
Good. It was great. You know, I just finished my MBA myself, right? And I just been hanging out. I just started a new job as well in Chicago. That's the reason why I had to step down from the Alumni Association so I can focus on my new endeavor.
Well, best of luck to you, man. Chicago's a rough town, man, but you're a good guy. So I wish you best of felicidades again on getting your MBA and certainly on the new job in corporate America. I'll tell you one thing, folks, you know, I think he's single, ladies. So, you know, hit him up because his W-2 looks a lot better than mine at the end of the year. You know what I'm saying? You're working in the private sector. So ladies, hit him up. You know, he's single. But Jorge, in all seriousness, thank you so much for joining us here. Now, you know, again, we're both, you know, Rutgers alumnus. I'm a proud alumni. Did my undergraduate studies at Rutgers, New Brunswick, did all my graduate degrees, my multiple graduate degrees at Rutgers in Newark. We know that the Rutgers Business School continues to be not just ranked locally, but we're talking about on a national level, whether it's on Forbes, U.S. News and World Reports continues to publish their rankings every year. And, you know, to a lot of the haters out there, it's not just one of the most diverse universities in the country. It's one of the most reputable academic institutions in the country as well, especially when it comes to the Rutgers Business School. Jorge, sort of break it down why the RBS continues to be so nationally respected.
So I think there was a big change when we switched from, you know, comparing ourselves to other state schools to the Big Ten. Because now you're in a completely different ballgame, right? So where before you were like the top dog in New Jersey, right? And now your competition are other big schools. And you realize that you have a lot of work to do to catch up in some levels. And that's what we've done, right? Our competition increased, got better. And so our level, we took personal responsibility about that. And we've been able to strive and really climb those ranks.
Now, Jorge, when we think about how Rutgers is ranked, and listen, we always know that these rankings are very subjective, right? Whether it's in sports, whether it's in economics or anything, even in academia, we know that rankings can be very subjective, and maybe I'm just biased because I'm a product of the Rutgers system, but for years, and even going back decades, you know, Rutgers has been one of those institutions that, listen, for all intents and purposes, they could easily be Ivy League. And folks, you can Google this, the Ivy League on numerous occasions in previous decades has asked Rutgers to join the Ivy League. Again, that's how respected the academics are for the state university. I think we all know why Rutgers chose not to do that. Going from a public to a private institution, you know, has its risks, has some drawbacks when it comes to, you know, you won't be getting state funding the way that Rutgers does from Trenton on a consistent basis. You might have to rely on grants, alumni donations, and that can always be tricky. Right. So I think that Rutgers, while they know what they have been smart to say, listen, we appreciate, we're flattered, but moving forward, it continues to be the State University of New Jersey, not just in the Newark campus in New Brunswick, but even the Camden campus. And I know Camden's not the nicest town to go into, but all three campuses are well-funded, they're well-staffed, and again, they continue to produce outstanding education. Is that fair to say, Jorge?
Yeah, I think the quality has always been amazing, right? I think that what we were not doing correctly was marketing ourselves, right? really, for example, the rankings, like you said, many times it's like your typical SATs, right? Might not really be how good you are as a student, but that's the metric that they use. The same thing, right? There are certain metrics that, like, US News and World Report, Forbes, Bloomberg, Fortune, Business Week, Wall Street Journal rankings use, and we were not doing a good job on those rankings, right? Putting together a nice package that highlights the amazing things that Rutgers has to offer. But now we are doing that. And a big part of that was how alumni was integrated within the school, right? What kind of jobs they were getting, the mentorship programs, internship jobs. So all those things, Rutgers really had to reinvent itself, right? And really focus on marketing ourselves as a national grade school. And that's what we did. And I think that's why you can see how good we're doing now in rankings.
Now, when we talk about, and folks, if you're just joining us right now, it's 6:11 here on the East Coast on Jersey First TV. It's my honor to have with me here this week on Real Talk, the distinguished immediate past president of the Rutgers Business School Alumni Association and fellow Scarlet Knight, Mr. Jorge Cabrera here, join us on Real Talk. Jorge, when we think about higher education, we think about the challenges that now it still faces. We're coming out of COVID, right? The president said COVID's over, right? And in New Jersey, we've seen that colleges and universities collectively have established their own protocol. We know that kids and young adults, or even, regular adults, older, are going back to campus. They're physically in school. So remote learning is no longer, there's still some online courses depending on the department, and the curriculum itself. But for all intents and purposes, students are back on campus. That's a good thing. As someone who, teaches in higher education, I know how important that is. Having students in the classroom, that interaction, the socialization that we were missing for nearly 2 years because of COVID-19. That's not the case anymore. But for something like Rutgers, again, I know you have no say on this, but again, as an alumnus, and maybe for students that are looking to apply now, not just to undergrad, but also at the graduate level, Rutgers is still being pretty tyrannical. They're still requiring masks on campus. If you're not vaccinated, you can't go to Rutgers University, neither in undergrad or grad work. Again, it's easy to hypothesize this, but do you think this is something that could potentially be harmful for enrollment? Because kids and adults might say, well, I want to go to Rutgers, it's still affordable, pero Dios mío, like they're still con este tiki-tiki about vaccines. I would argue it might work to the detriment of Rutgers University.
Well, so far, the things that I've seen, right, I don't think they've been affected, admissions, but I see it. I can clearly see two different camps, right? Where undergraduates, they need to develop those soft skills. They need the atmosphere, right? So in-person schooling and classes it's crucial for their development. But when it comes to more of the graduate classes, you're talking about working professionals. So actually they prefer online learning right now. They are asking for more virtual classes, hybrid classes. So that's what I've seen so far. I don't have the numbers in admission and enrollment, but I know that so far it has not affected them.
That's good. I'm happy because the last thing I want to see is Rutgers not get the best students they possibly can because of, what I would argue are tyrannical mandates. But again, that's a topic for another show. But continue.
Yeah, no. So I think that actually in the graduate level, they need to provide more virtual and hybrid learning to keep their enrollment up because COVID-19 changed the way we get higher education forever, right? You no longer need to go to a campus. Sure. And they need to adapt to keep competitive and really keep in the rankings as they're doing right now.
I'm with you. And I think that when we talk about rankings, we talk about the reality that higher education, I work in it, so I can say this openly, and I really don't care how it sounds. It's gone from really the learning environment, Jorge, to it's become a business. And I get it. It's a competition. You want to stay afloat. State aid is not always a given, right? Trenton's not always going to bestow. They did this budget, but it may not always bestow tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to Rutgers University. Again, case in point, over the summer, for those of us that are, sort of policy nerds like me, we look at the budget and great, Rutgers got $100 million, but guess what? It's for a new practice facility for the god-awful football team that continues to lose games. Yeah, you're going to revise the arena for the basketball team because that's really the good team on campus, right? In addition to baseball and soccer, that brings in money. But it just seems that sometimes, like colleges, universities know they can't always rely on state aid. Yeah, it's good now. They'll be getting some funding from Trenton. That might not be the case the next year. So I think that, unfortunately, higher ed, and Rutgers isn't only guilty of this. I don't want to just pick on my alma mater, but I think every college university is guilty of this too because they understand it's a business. And that's tragic too, though.
Yeah, and I think the school is being proactive on trying to get alternative sources of funding. For example, they really tapping into the alumni, right? Where before they did it in a way that just pissed off alumni, right? Rutgers only reaches out to me when they want money.
Yeah,
now they're really taking a holistic approach where they're doing a lot of events. They're trying to make alumni feel that they belong here, that they are part of this institution. And that's a lot easier to ask you for money for $5, $10 than if you only hear from the school once a year asking you for money, right? So they are trying to do that. Unfortunately, yeah, the football team is not doing the best. I just don't know, to be very blunt, the marketing that we get for being in the Big Ten and sports, I can't really quantify, but I think is done amazing in terms of marketing and getting to markets that maybe before they didn't know who Rutgers or where Rutgers was. And now they're being in Chicago, everybody knows about Rutgers, right? So it'd be great to find a way to quantify, right? If those $100 that we're spending, $100 million that we're spending on new facilities is actually bringing some kind of profit or utilities, or we're just wasting the money.
Well, listen, now that you're living in Chicago, when Rutgers plays Northwestern, because that's one of the conference games, I mean, I better see you there on TV somewhere right there against Northwestern, because I can't stand that school. So, obviously I know DePaul's nearby as well. I think Rutgers sometimes plays them as well, depending on our conference schedule. So we'll see. But, Jorge, it's interesting because, we talk about the challenges of higher education, but I would also argue too, there's a challenge that goes into an alumni association, not just a regular alumni association, but one that's sort of, more major centric, right? More curriculum centric, as case in point, the RBS Alumni Association, where these are people that are going for their undergraduate business degrees, are going to be, wanting to attend Rutgers for their MBA. But a lot has changed though. Since I went to grad school, I don't want to date myself here a little bit, but, obviously at one point in time, taking the GRE was mandatory. Taking the Gmats were mandatory. Taking the MCATs were mandatory. If you wanted to go into higher, into graduate studies and above, we're seeing that a lot of schools, and I think Rutgers maybe is complicit in this as well. They're looking to sort of eliminate these barriers when it comes to testing because they want to get candidates in. I understand, students, whether it's SATs are no longer what required. I mean, Jesus, I had to lose sleep about my SATs just to get into college, right? Or even my GREs to go to grad school. I think that higher ed overall, I think, is seeing the benefits of eliminating these standardized tests and looking at sort of like the resume or the transcripts or the letters of recommendation for candidates. And I think case in point for business school, I can't tell you how many students of mine write to me, hey, professor, I want to maybe get my MBA. The first thing I always say to them, I'm like, well, why do you want to get your MBA? What do you want to do in the business world? What do you want to do in the private sector? Same thing I tell my students, I want to go to law school. I'm not trying, de-incentivize anybody. I'm always about higher education. However, I'm always very smart and tell them, listen, what do you want to do with this degree? Ultimately, what's your ROI going to be for investing X amount of money? And in some cases, I can't speak for what tuition is for the RBS, but let's say you go to law school, you're talking about $250,000, Jorge, for a law degree. And again, the ROI might not be great for getting a law degree. Now, again, I don't know what MBA would cost. It's certainly, I'm sure it's less than a law degree. However, it's still considerable money that you're going to allocate. And again, as we're waiting for Uncle Joe to forgive all our loans, right? Because I'm still waiting for that. But, of course, claro, imagínate. I'm waiting for Stevie Wonder to start driving before I see my loans getting forgiven. But anyway, the point is that I think that's a challenge, though, for a business school alumni association to keep students and alumnus engaged. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. So I think the big problem that not just in grad school, right, just in education overall, seems that we have shifted our focus from learning to passing this standardized test, right? I think the point of a GMAT or a GRE was supposed to, you know, basically gauge your ability to do graduate coursework.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that really is the case, right? So it has become a barrier instead of really determining if you're able to take a graduate school workload. For example, I'm a perfect example, right? I failed my GMATs twice. So at that point, I just waited to get 10 years of experience so that my GMATs will be waived.
But again, Jorge, again, I'm sorry to cut you off. I'll let you finish though. But let's for our audience maybe isn't aware. I mean, are the GMATs predicated on a different scoring system than let's say the GRE or even the because the SAT is 2 sections, right? And the perfect score is 1600. On a GRE, it's 2400. I mean, depending on where you rank in there, that's where you can ascertain whether or not you can enroll or at least apply to a graduate school that you want to go to. When it comes to the MCATs, is it a pass fail or is it a 70%? Like what's the passing grade?
Well, usually for the MCATs, I'm not sure, but for the GMATs that business schools use, right?
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
They don't have a minimum GMAT score, but usually they give you a profile, right? Our incoming class of 2021 had on average a score of 700. So that's kind of you use that score to understand what they're looking for. But many times their whole focus is on that score that they don't take into account all the other amazing things that you have done. And,
okay. Mm-hmm.
And Rutgers is also getting rid of the GMAT and GREs as well. So they are also following that trend.
Now, again, when we talk about standards and we talk about the curriculum itself, Rutgers speaks for itself. I mean, especially along the business school lines. At the end of the day, it's getting people prepared to enter the business world, to enter the private sector, business, finance, accounting, right? There's a plethora of different majors and sort of specific curriculum that the RBS focuses in on. When you went for your undergrad and then obviously you completed your MBA, what piqued your interest about the private sector? What piqued your interest about business?
So I think that it's always great to have that inside experience, right? I'm always being about businesses, right? I also have a couple of I'm an entrepreneur myself, so I have a couple of businesses, right, that I take care of on my free time per se. So it was always about I always like business, right? I like accounting, marketing, how to sell things. I think that's just part of who I am. But I think for us as a society, it's very important to understand the economics, understand what's going on at the macro level, and also personal finances. I think we are lacking that in our educational system. We have very smart people who have no idea how their retirement account works or what's a 401k or little things like that. And I think that's so crucial right now.
All right, when we talk about the business world and we talk about obviously like what you're doing, again, congratulations to you, brand new job in the Windy City. Best of luck to you. Obviously, I don't, I'm not envious of your winters. I'm sure I'm going to see stuff on your Instagram. You'll be bundling up. But in all seriousness, though, when we think about different parts of the country, when we talk about entertainment, we think about LA, Hollywood, right? When we talk about maybe media, we talk about New York, right? When we talk about government, lobbying, legislating, we think about Washington, D.C. When we think about maybe fashion or a cosmopolitan city, we think about Miami. We also think about Chicago sort of being that sort of capital in the Midwest part of the United States, right? When it comes to business and finance and obviously government work, aside from the company you accepted a position at, but what drew you to Chicago as opposed to other cities where, finance, business, things that's your cup of tea, that's your specialization, were just as readily available?
So for me, it was more about, I think, seeing what's best for me, what works for me. I was looking for an opportunity. Definitely, I was able to interview for many companies, and Abbott was the company that was really able to provide me with what I needed to keep moving forward in my career. Also, Chicago is a great city, and I think it was good for me to just get out of New Jersey, right, and just see what else is out there, right? Really learn new things, new cultures, and explore what's out there in the U.S. Yeah, absolutely. The Midwest, just being here a couple of weeks now, the Midwest is amazing. I just went to a Civil War museum about
Nice.
the contributions that the Midwest had during the Civil War. But it's a I think we're very regional in the U.S. Right? When you are in the Northeast, you don't really pay attention to what's going on outside of region.
Yeah.
And I think this has been a great experience for me to really learn in this part of the country.
Okay. Was it one of those uncomfortable talks with family, parents, and family members? Que me voy, lo quiero mucho, but I gotta go explore the country. Was it like on a scale of 1 to 10? Like how courageous did you have to be to have that conversation with fans? Because Hispanic families, man, like we're tight, we're close. Having that unsettling conversation, me voy, man, that does not go over very well sometimes.
Yeah, no, we're very big about family values, right?
Sure.
Hispanic community. So many times people might feel like you're abandoning your family, right? That's just how we take it. But no, they were definitely, it was a good conversation. Everybody was happy. Everybody was very supportive about, just going out there and seeing what else is out there, right?
Mhm. And again, folks, listen, that W-2 is going to look really nice at the end of the year. So that Christmas shopping para mami, papapi, abuelo, abuela, everybody, they're going to be seeing some nice Christmas gifts, I would argue, come December. But that's just me. I don't know. I don't want to do your spending for you, papa. But no. And seriously, though, but again, congratulations on the new position. Hardy, we'll get back to Rutgers and the business school in a minute, but I want to, pick your brain a little bit. It's 28 days out. Midterm elections, we hear it all the time. The most consequential midterm election of our lifetime, la misma basura that we hear all the time. However, it's interesting. We're coming out of COVID, right? We're sort of getting back to normal. The economy has shown some growth. But for Hispanics like you and I know that you and I differ ideologically in a lot of things, but I think the one thing we can agree on is how Hispanics in the Hispanic community, right? Latinos, Latinas, not Latinx. Give me a break. Like there are grown ass men and women, especially white woke people, that failed high school biology, and that's what you're telling me. Like you're telling me you failed biology, and no offense, you shouldn't be walking around being proud of that. But that's a different story. But in serio, for Hispanics though, this election is really interesting because we're still suffering incredible inflation, despite what the president and the Congress will say about the Inflation Reduction Act has done nothing of the sort. Gas is still very expensive. It's these kitchen table issues, though, Jorge. Like, para nosotros, esto es importante. Like, the idea about grocery bills, food prices, the idea that gas is still way too expensive. I love people on my newsfeed, people in academia or propagandists, journalists or wannabe journalists in New Jersey that talk about, well, gas is down for the 10th consecutive week. Oye, it should have never been this high to begin with, imbécil. Pero people sometimes like to go off on their little tangents. But this is the thing for Hispanics like us and our families collectively. It's kitchen table issues, Jorge. Eso que vale in 28 days. Pronouns and woke nonsense and bathrooms. I get it that reproductive justice and marijuana, that's important. I'm not going to minimize it. But at the end of the day, it's the kitchen table issues. Talking in el portal, on our porch with our families, having limonada, jugando dominó. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's these kitchen table issues. This is what matters to Hispanics. And I think that this is a demographic that could decide the midterms in 28 days, Papa. Am I wrong?
Yeah, so as you know, I'm a registered Democrat, right, in New Jersey. So, definitely all the polls say that the top three issues for Latinos are inflation, jobs, and the economy, right? And even here in Illinois, what I see is that all the ads that I see on TV are about social issues. So that's a little scary for me, right? Because we have limited resources. And instead of talking about the issues that seem to be the top three for the Hispanic community, we're talking about other issues that are not as important. They are important, but they come probably number 4 and 5. And all the polls are telling us that they are seeing a shift of Latino males shifting towards the right, right? So for me as a registered Democrat, it's like, how do we bring them back, right? And maybe like you're saying, maybe we're not doing a good job of talking about these issues that are the top three for the Hispanic community.
No, Jorge, listen, you said it perfectly. I mean, again, these are three things that matter to Hispanic families not just in New Jersey, but nationally. I mean, listen, we went through a summer where there were parts of New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania where a gallon of gas was over $5.
Yeah.
Okay. The idea of going on a family vacation, a road trip, that was limiting a lot of families, a lot of Hispanic families. The idea of grocery shopping, the idea of food prices skyrocketing. The idea, I mean, I'm looking here at some numbers here. You know, it's interesting how tone deaf Trenton continues to be, because here in New Jersey, we saw the highest property taxes in the United States at an average of $9,200. Okay. That's the average statewide. We can have as high as $24,000 in Summit, New Jersey, and even $17,000 in Cresskill, New Jersey. Again, that's Bergen County near me, and that's in Union County down south of me. I mean, it's still an expensive state to live in. And what's interesting to me, though, is for whatever reason, you know, Democrat, and again, I don't like to paint with a broad brush, because I look at you as a reasonable Hispanic. Okay. I look at you as someone that's not woke, que no come mermelada. I use another word, but you know, it's a PG show, right? With all this woke nonsense about pronouns and being triggered by statues, or that, oh, Columbus Day offends me, or toda esta basura, que, you know, people on the far left, you know, salivate over. And again, and a lot of the media in New Jersey and nationally, like, it's like they have this fixation on it. For a lot of Hispanics, like, that's not what governs our thought process. Once again, kitchen table issues, talking in the living room, right, over a cigar or una cerveza, or just saying, hey, you know, I get it that, you know, maybe abortion's being limited in certain states, but I mean, eso no pertenece a mí. That doesn't pertain to me. It's New Jersey. What is going on to help improve my pocket? Not that we're insensitive to women or whatever else, or expungements to marijuana, but it's the pocket issues, Jorge. Eso que vale in 28 days. And it's funny to me when I have these discussions online with people that are very far left. It's like, well, friend, don't you care about women? Of course I care about women. That's an asinine question to make on face value. But what I care about is, how is my life more affordable? Because I'm living comfortably financially. You are clearly, right? I mean, you know, good job there, the new one. Pero realistically, for a lot of brown families, it's still a struggle. It's still a struggle to say, well, what am I going to do? What bill am I going to pay this month, as opposed to feeding my family? What, you know, do I carpool? Do I take mass transit? Because you know what? Maybe driving my car is too expensive because of gas. Like, these are real world things, Jorge, que para hispano, oye, bro, esto es importante. This is important, man.
Yeah, no, I think that obviously when it comes to social issues, I lean to the left, but when it comes to the economy, I'm more to the center and conservative. So I do think definitely, I think that it just what sells more, right? There's a lot more controversy. There's more to sell when you are giving out all these stories about social issues on TV. That's just the reality, right? And it's not sexy to talk about your personal finances. It's about the economy. It's about the inflation number, why we have inflation, what to do to come. It's just not. It's something a little difficult even for educated people.
Yeah.
Right. Not just for blue collar workers. So it's not sexy. And I think that's why the media, you know, they focus on those topics that bring controversy, that bring eyes, that create conflict, all of that. So I think that is the problem. And that's why I think mainstream news are not the best, but I think people need to educate themselves and look at the shows that actually have substance to it.
Yeah.
They'll be doing a lot better. Absolutely.
Right here, every week, every Monday. You have to solve it. But no, but listen, fair points there. And I think that they become, you know, these code words. They become great to fundraise. They become for messaging and ultimately to mobilize, right? And again, with 28 days to go, like you said it perfectly. These social issues are great to capitalize on. And again, they know the audience. It's like it's marketing. As an MBA recipient, I think you can appreciate. Politics is no different than business school. It's about marketing. It's about knowing your audience. It's about marketing the message that's going to get the audience. And at the end of the day, you know, it's like fishing. It's like, you know, you're get that fish in. it's no different when it comes to messaging. I think that especially in a political season, right? That's what matters. It's about, hey, what code words, what keywords can I use to mobilize to make sure that, hey, guess what? On November 8th, you're going to leave the house and go vote, as opposed to staying home because there's apathy or, eso no me importa porque I have to go to work. Yo tengo que trabajar. I get it. Those are valid things. But sometimes the messaging works just as well as the marketing. And I think, as a business person, I think you can appreciate how crucial that is during an election.
Yeah, no, I think the messages, it's crucial as marketing, right? Even the messenger is part of the message.
Yeah.
For example, I was looking at, oh my God, I forgot the name of this young Mexican-born congresswoman that was elected in Texas. Do you remember her name?
I know what you're talking about. She's like the first Republican to get elected in like 50 years in that district.
So basically, what she did was use the message for Latinos, right? And she turned Democrats to Republicans. That was Dios, familia, y patria. The same message that we use, right? God, family, and a country. Mm-hmm. So she was part of the message because it wasn't an old Caucasian man talking about this, but it was the same values but coming from a totally different person. So
sure.
It was so simple and they understood how to do it. It was great marketing.
And it's worked. And again, it could work in a lot of districts because all 435 House seats are up for grabs.
Yep.
I think not all 100 Senate seats, but I think 40 Senate seats are up for grabs. And that could decide ultimately what the Senate looks like. It's a 50-50 split right now. Right, the House leans Democrat, but we know historically, again, as a history professor, I'm a big fan of history, short of George W. Bush in 2002 and 1934 under FDR, I mean, the incumbent party held the House and they added seats. But for all intents and purposes, every single other election, the opposing party tends to win the House of Representatives. Case in point, in 2018, Democrats had their boogeyman. They had the 45th president. So it was easy to run on him. It was easy to run a message against Donald Trump. Great. Well, 4 years later, they have the White House. They have the Senate by a 50-50 split because the vice president breaks the tie in a Senate vote, but they have a slim lead in the House. I mean, it's one of those things where, the 45th president's not on the ballot. It's the 46th president. And I think that could be something that Hispanics could say, well, what's Joe doing for me? Is Joe forgiving my loans? Wrong answer. Is the president doing more to help alleviate our energy dependence on foreign oil? Not happening either. So what's going on? And again, it's one of those things where a party could be the casualty during an election season, like in 28 days.
Yeah, I definitely, like I said, I think the messaging many times, it's off, right? And they're definitely not leading with the things that Latinos want to hear, right? And many times I feel that it's a complicated issues that it's hard to explain and drive a message if you don't have that previous education first, right?
Yep.
So I think that's also the problem. So instead of trying to educate the masses about what we can do to lower prices, because it's a complex problem, right? Talk about OPEC, Russia here, right? Like our own national production. And we just go with the easy things, right? The low-hanging fruit of abortion rights or pro-life or pro-choice. So I think the more we educate people about the things that they can do, I think that we can get even better outcomes for Latinos, right? They feel part of, because many times we see our community that they don't come out to vote because they just feel that their vote doesn't make a difference. They don't feel part of the democracy, right, here in the U.S. So if we engage them and we talk to them about issues that they care about, they will start coming back. They will start becoming part of the process and the solution.
And again, the census numbers tell us that probably in the next 20 years, and this is, a reality check for a lot of people, the United States is not going to get whiter. It's not getting blacker. It's getting browner. Okay. Hispanics, Latinos, Latinas collectively are going to be the majority in this country, Jorge. And that's something that, when my parents immigrated here in the late 60s, that's something they could have never envisioned. Same with your family and your parents collectively. That's something that they would have never envisioned 60 years later, that lo hispano van a ser la mayoría to be the majority here in these United States. I think it's something that A, it's uplifting, B, it's refreshing, but by the same token, C, it's also going to require Hispanics to get even more engaged. Like to your point about wanting to be involved, not just during election time, right? Where, both parties are guilty of it, right? One party is like, well, let me throw some scraps during election season and, get you excited or get you like, oh, how many white politicians do we see? Both parties, right? They go to rallies, si se puede, y yo estoy aquí para ustedes, and they can't even, it sounds so fake. But at the same time, Hispanics also have to hold leaders accountable in both parties, at the federal level, at the state, and at the municipal level. And I think that's where Hispanics, are going to take the lead now in the years to come. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think as a group, right? And we had this conversation before. I think I feel that many times my Democratic Party takes the Hispanic vote for granted.
Yeah.
And then the Republican Party, they just throw their hands up. Oh, there's nothing we can do to reach them, right? So I think that we need to start thinking more about as a blocking. Let's hear both sides and let's see who offers the best value for our community. Sure. And I think we're not doing that. I think if we started doing that, we will getting better results for our community.
Perfectly said. Let's get back to Rutgers real quick here again before I let you go. And folks, it's 6:40 here on the East Coast, and he's been such a gentleman here tonight. He is the distinguished immediate past president of the Rutgers Business School Alumni Association and fellow Scarlet Knight, Mr. Jorge Cabrera. Join us here on Real Talk via Jersey First TV. Jorge, when we talk about the challenges again of an alumni association, we think about, well, what are we paying into, right? We send membership dues. We're hoping for a resource. We're hoping for either a help with job placement, networking. And, again, we saw each other over the summer, right? We saw the Latino Chamber of Commerce. The statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce does a great job in getting businesses together, right? Business owners, which, for example, and shout out to Luis de la Hoz and Carlos Medina, who are the chairman and the CEO collectively of the statewide Hispanic Chamber. I mean, we're talking about over 100,000 business owners. The Latino Chamber, headed up by Darwin Roman, shout out to him, who are working diligently to get business owners, mobilized and get them engaged in what's going on and networking and helping enhance their businesses. I think it's no different with an alumni association. I mean, it's sort of a maybe undue pressure that's put on that body to help alumnus, because whether it's job placement, networking, even something as elementary, because to me, I can do it in my sleep, but maybe spiffing up your resume, maybe working on a cover letter, those are important things to help distinguish people in the job force, right? That's what separates candidates at the end of the day. Again, your transcript is great. Getting that MBA is awesome. That degree on the wall, believe me, I have plenty. So believe me, that's important. But maybe it's something as simple as your references, your cover letter, what helps you stand out as a candidate. I think these are sort of undue pressure sometimes that fall on alumni associations. Do you hear the same thing with the RBS Alumni Association?
Yeah, like you have to take ownership of your career, right? Yeah. And part of your career is developing a network that you can reach out in your moments of need, right? Also, the workforce is very dynamic, right? What you're doing right now, in 3 years, that job might not even exist anymore, right? So what are you doing to stay relevant within this culture, right? You need to have your ear towards the street, right? What are other people doing in their companies? What other industries doing? And I think like the alumni associations play an amazing part of keeping you up to date on what's going on in other industries within your own industry. And I think what we try to offer, right, networking opportunities. We also try to create a sense of community where as an alumnus, you coming back and providing leads for internships or even jobs for graduating students. That's also amazing, right? We all create a community here for Rutgers. And when you think of Rutgers, you think of New Jersey as well. You keep the economy of New Jersey vibrant by opening this up for alumni and other business people and other just professionals in the area. So that's what we try to do.
And truly, it's an outstanding job that the Alumni Association does. And again, certainly with you at its leadership, I know that you did step down recently to pursue employment in the Windy City. Jorge, again, I want to congratulate you on not just your new employment, but really the job you did during your time as president of the Rutgers Business School Alumni Association. It's a tough job. You have to wear many hats. You have to sort of listen to a lot of people getting your ear, a lot of chirping, tiki-tiki, as they say, somebody thinks this, we should do that. No, we should do this. And sometimes it pulls you in different directions. And again, you've demonstrated outstanding leadership in your time there with RBS. I think they should be eternally grateful for how much you dedicated to not just the Rutgers Business School, but also the Alumni Association in your capacity. So I know you'll be missed. And certainly I know that the Alumni Association, I know you left it in very good hands. You left a very good structure there. I want to thank you for your time because, hey, you're always a gentleman to come on this show. We may not always agree. You may look at some of my Instagram posts or my Twitter posts and say, wow, Fernando se la comió, and Fernando's just saying some things that maybe I wouldn't. I'm thinking them, but Fernando says them. So you know what? You're always a gentleman, Jorge, for coming on here, having a great discussion, really breaking down what's going on in the business sector, finance, whether it's going for an MBA, going for your business studies. I mean, no one articulates it, I would argue, better than you do. So I want to thank you for your time. Best of luck in Chicago. Not sure when you're back home in New Jersey, but when you are back home, hit me up. Let's grab a beer. Let's hear about your new job. Let's talk some politics, talk some soccer, whatever. Let's just grab a beer when you're back in New Jersey. Fair enough, right?
Awesome. Great. Thank you, man.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So again, before I let you go, folks, he is the distinguished immediate past president of the Rutgers Business School Alumni Association, Jorge Cabrera. Bro, thank you so much for coming on. I know you may not always like what I say on the show, but you respect the show, and I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you sharing the stuff and being a gentleman and coming on, having a wonderful and illuminating conversation. I'll give you the last word here tonight.
No, I think that you're doing an amazing job. I think that for the sake of our democracy, we need both sides to be able to speak up, right? And we not always agree, but it's necessary to have different points of view.
Baba, thank you for the kind words. So again, have a happy Halloween. Let's go Rutgers when they visit during the college basketball season. Represent over there in Chicago. But more importantly, stay safe. Congratulations once again to you. And folks, he is the distinguished immediate past president of the Rutgers Business School Alumni Association, the great Jorge Cabrera. Join us here tonight on Jersey First TV. Jorge, cuídate. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Take care. Folks, great episode here tonight with Jorge. And again, he's a guy who, the example, right? Just like myself, like the son of immigrants, going to school, doing it the right way, rolling up your sleeves, cutting your teeth, you know what I'm saying? Getting those degrees, getting that job experience, and just going out there and doing. You look at people like Jorge, man, I give him all the credit in the world, getting those jobs, getting those degrees, moving out, going to a new city to excel and succeed. And bro, I'll tell you, mira aquí, te lo digo en serio, my heart goes out to you, brother. Congratulations. I'm proud of you. Keep representing us, keep representing Rutgers strongly, and keep being one of those hispano que trae mucho orgullo para nosotros. It keeps bringing us pride in the Hispanic community. So keep doing that, brother, and stay safe out there in the Windy City. Folks, before I let you go, once again, did you think I was going to forget? Of course not. It's time for this week's winner of the worst journalist in the state of New Jersey. And yes, folks, it's multiple winners this week. And of course, I got to start off with talking about one of those websites that never disappoints with being a propaganda pool. And folks, yes, we all are aware it's northjersey.com. And when we think about some of the columnists on there, and I've had the chance to interview him before. I've reached out to him to come on this show. No response, but hey, that's what happens. A lot of journalists don't like to be challenged on what they write. But again, this is something that I really have to take issue with. And of course, one of the worst journalists of the week here in New Jersey, of course, is Charles Stile, writes for the Bergen Record and NorthJersey.com. And when I saw Chuck's recent column here, this was interesting. Last week, he starts writing, "The original political disruptor, ? It was New Jersey's Jim Flory." Now, again, I'm not going to sort of read you everything here, but here's an interesting dynamic about Jim Flory, who recently passed. And certainly, my heart goes out to the family of the former governor, but, I'm not going to be losing sleep about it either. So Charles decides to write, "Flory's decision was to go on television and defend his historic package of tax hikes totaling $2.8 billion, and to explain himself. And for 25 minutes, in the dead of a New Jersey summer, he was hardly a made-for-TV draw. Florio often struck people as cold and combative, which is what he was. He wasn't the most personable individual, Chuck. He wasn't. He was pretty cold and kind of like lacking personality. That's what we've always known about Jimmy Florio. That's the truth. I'm not trying to kick dirt on his grave, but that's the truth. Anybody that has eyes and has ears and saw Jim Florio talk, he was not the most inspiring person. He just wasn't. And he was accused by enemies of being dictatorial. One news profile likened him to a cunning Cheshire cat who has swallowed a canary. Still, he made a plea for patience. Over time, he told viewers, you will come to see the wisdom of all these tough decisions. So again, Chuck decides to go on there. And right, that moment, like many of the decisions he made during his tumultuous term from 1990 to 1994, was guided by an almost quaint romantic notion. If people were truly engaged and informed and maybe a little patient, the voters would, Florio thought, reward him for making the tough decisions. But Chuck, that's not the case. You come on TV and you try to defend a tax hike when we don't need one. That's tough. And mind you, I'm not thrilled with who succeeded him, because Christie Whitman was garbage too, for reasons I've talked about on this show. Okay. But again, what's interesting about Chuck, and again, like every other propagandist in New Jersey, like Ali Steinberg and Uncle Dave, David Cruz and everybody, and Maxie Pizarro, who have this ongoing erection, right, about Donald Trump, right? But of course, Chucky couldn't help himself, right? Because again, the piece is supposed to be about Jim Florio, I'm assuming, right? To pay tribute to Jim Florio, right? Like, listen, if you need a cure for insomnia, read up Alan Steinberg's column on Jim Florio, okay? So if you need a cure for insomnia, get yourself a little cup of tea, manzanilla, prepare that, make sure you have it there like this and drink it. You know what I'm saying? Have a nice little chamomile tea and read Alan Steinberg's column. It'll put you to sleep like everything else that Alan Steinberg puts out there. But I said, let me give Chuck a chance here. Maybe he won't be as boring and as, partisan and as toxic as Alan Steinberg is. And of course, why should I give Chuck the benefit of the doubt? And of course, he didn't disappoint. In the column, Chuck decides to write, quote, but unlike Trump and his MAGA followers, Florio believed in the power of government as a necessary instrument to improve the lives of its citizens. His ban on assault weapons came in 1990 in response to national outrage after gunmen killed 5 children and wounded 32 others with a semi-automatic weapon in Stockton, California. Quote, being a leader is being a spark, a catalyst that sets force in motion that makes things happen. He said this during his inaugural speech of his one and only term in January 1990, right? But this is what's interesting too, right? So we get into a little bit later, all right, as Chuck decides to say, quote, a cautionary tale in the column. Now, again, as Florio lost later that year, later in 1994, the loss proved to be a cautionary tale for later generations of Democrats. Tax increases would come only after much public gnashing. A fight in 2006 to restore the sales tax to 7% sparked an intra-Democratic Party standoff that led to a temporary government shutdown. It took Governor Phil Murphy nearly 3 years to enact a tax hike on millionaires despite widespread public support. Support from who? And what public support are we talking about, Chuck? Not people I talk to. I know people you talk to. I mean, again, we're in different income brackets, right? You've been writing columns for years. Maybe, living on a nice little bougie income. I don't know. But people I talk to, yeah, I'm sorry. About tax hikes, yeah, we're not the same, okay? Few Democratic successors picked up the Florio playbook of aggressive engagement. The party is now defined by centrism, incrementalism, and timidity. Really, Chuck? You think the Democratic Party on a national level is defined by centrism, incrementalism, and timidity? This is a party on a national level, Chucky, that cares more about pronouns than how people are going to afford grocery bills. Okay? This is a Democratic Party on a national level that cares, that's having a fixation, just like you, right? And all the other hysterics about January 6th, January 6th, January 6th, January 6th. That's what you sound like when I read your columns. But did you once, and I decided to look you up on muckrack.com to look up your columns, did you once have an issue in the summer and fall of 2020 when people were going on with, now that we know the scam that is BLM, right? The scam that is the Black Lives Matter movement, right? We've all learned about it, right? We've seen the tax records. We've seen the testimonials. We've seen it. All right, Chucky? Did you once write a column about what a fraud that movement, because I already knew it was a fraud going back to the days of Trayvon Martin when it was first founded back in 2013. But somehow that escapes you, Chucky. Like, for some reason, you can't do some homework about what a fraud and scam BLM, the movement, is, right? Or its sort of central message, right? But during the summer of 2020, when they were out glorifying a career criminal, because that's what he was, folks, George Floyd was a career criminal. That's the truth. You may not like the truth. You may not like the way it sounds. That's the truth. Get over it, okay? But did you once, Chuck, have any outrage about the fact that the Democratic Party was responsible for fueling flames with BLM rioters burning and looting cities? Or how about the fact that BLM rioters were on Pennsylvania Avenue, right in front of the White House, trying to break through metal barriers to try to get to the White House, and that Secret Service agents were injured? Not just one of the dozens of Secret Service agents were injured during those tirades, during those tantrums by BLM rioters, right on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Did you once write a column about how wrong that was? No. But you have this perpetual hard-on, just like Alan Steinberg, just like Uncle Dave, David Cruz, Maxie Pizarro, little JJ Lassiter, and all these other propagandists masquerading as journalists about January the 6th. You can't help yourself, all right? And then your bias is even more obvious, as I point out there in the photo. Really, to talk about the Democratic Party is now defined by centrism, incrementalism, and timidity? Are you out of your mind, Chuck? I mean, are you getting, listen, we all know Alan Steinberg is like 90-something years old, and cognitively, like, he's declining by the second. What you're telling me, Chuck, is you're declining too. To say with any semblance of shame that the Democratic Party now is defined by centrism, you have lost your mind, Chuck. I hate to break it to you. You've lost your mind. So when I read this garbage column, one of many that you decide to write, Chuck, I'm sorry, do better, bro. You're in your 80s. You're in your mid to late 80s, I think, right? I get it. I don't know where you are cognitively, but clearly it's not progressing. It's regressing. When you have the audacity to write this in a column, I get it. You want to pay tribute to Jim Florio. You're entitled to do that, right? There are some that still mourn his loss. I don't really care. I'm not losing sleep over it. I'm more worried about playoff baseball. I might ask Cowboys. Okay, I don't really care about Jim Florio. Oh, well, it sucks. He passed away. I'm sorry. Prayers for his family. What can I tell you? He was a horrible governor. I'm not going to miss him. Okay? But to write garbage like this, Chuck, you should be ashamed of yourself. Really? And of course, you couldn't help yourself during the column because you just had to insert Donald Trump and MAGA followers. You just couldn't help yourself. You were like, you just saw a steak and you're like, I just can't help myself. Chuck, it's embarrassing, bro. You're like 80-something years old, bro. Do better. But speaking of doing better, of course, and not doing any better, of course, when we talk about the worst journalists in New Jersey, yes, folks, we can always rely on Insider NJ. And certainly when we talk about Insider NJ and bad journalism, we can always rely, yes, as you know, on Maxie. It's editor-in-chief, Maxie Pizarro, right? And of course, what was interesting about Maxie, of course, we all know how much he loves horses and horses love him. Who's riding who? I don't know. That's something between a man and his horse. So, hey, I respect you, Max. That you'll do you, bro. That's private information. You and your horse, the horse and you, whatever, man. Hey, I live and let live, bro. Do you with horses, whatever you want to do, man. But what's interesting about Maxie is, of course, he decided to get off his ass and leave his house and venture up to the People's Leftist Republic of Montclair on Saturday morning, right? This sort of awful column, just boring as hell. What else is new with Max Pizarro? The pro-choice advocates rally in Montclair ahead of midterm elections, right? So, of course, I'll read you the first pack, which is really, really funny. Alert to the coming November 8th election and the implications of a Supreme Court reversal of Roe versus Wade. Pro-choice advocates this morning rallied in front of City Hall. Sponsored by Blue Wave New Jersey, the, quote, March to Rovember for Women's Reproductive Rights featured a coalition of more than 35 organizations, including the People's Organization for Progress, another leftist, useless organization. Here's interesting. Quote, this girl from Newark had a short ride up Bloomfield Avenue, but I wouldn't have missed this for the world, according to State Senate Majority Leader and State Senator Teresa Ruiz. She told the large assembled crowd about an exchange she had with her 6-year-old daughter. She wrote, quote, when it was her birthday, she said, my day, my choice. Now, she acknowledged a decision earlier this year by the U.S. Supreme Court denying a federal right to an abortion. It's not illegal. Again, Max, get your facts straight. It's not illegal, okay? What the Supreme Court decision did, what the Hobbs decision did, is relegate down to the states. I don't know, Max, did you not sleep? Did you fall asleep or did you sleep through a U.S. history class? I mean, I know you're older than I am. I think you're like in your mid to late 60s, so I'm sure at some point you took civics. And when you took civics, I'm sure you learned about the Bill of Rights. You do know what the 10th Amendment says, don't you, Maxine? Okay, just more on that later. Okay. She acknowledged the decision that that child has less rights than my 85-year-old grandmother. Amid cheers from the crowd, the veteran lawmaker said, quote, "I'm not on the ballot, but my body is on the ballot, and the message is clear. Hands off, stay out of my uterus, my body, my choice, hands off our bodies." All right. You know what's funny, Daddy? It's really, really rich for you. That was one of those Democrats, right, in Trenton. They were more than happy to force people out of their jobs, right, who didn't want to get vaccinated, right? After we've all learned that, hey, I'm still happily unvaccinated. I'm good and healthy. I'm not going anywhere. Okay. But you were with the same person, Tere, right, that went on TV or went in front of a press release and would talk about, hey, we need to mandate vaccines. We need to make sure that we're cooperating, right? Because you know what? If you're not going to cooperate with vaccines, then you know what? You deserve to lose your job. And the government has a right to infringe that upon you. Oh, cuando te conviene, right, Daddy? Oh, my body, my choice, cuando te conviene. Sorry, honey, I'm not buying that. Okay. And of course, God forbid Max would ever call out the hypocrisy of someone like Teresa Ruiz, right? But again, that requires Maxie when he's not riding horses or horses are riding him, you can imagine Maxie doing that, right? It would require Maxie to have integrity, right? That pesky 4-syllable word that Max Pizarro struggles with, among other words, probably with less syllables that he struggles with as well. Okay. But God forbid you ever called out the hypocrisy of Teresa Ruiz and other Democrats in the legislature, right? That were totally on board with making sure that people at home, like you, my loyal viewing audience, that you lost your job or you couldn't go to work because you're not vaccinated. Because we know better than you, because we're government and we know better than you, right? But when someone like me would say, my body, my choice, oh, someone like Teresa Ruiz and other on the far left in New Jersey in the legislature, oh, no, Fernando, sorry, not your body, your choice. I'm going to tell you right now, pick and choose, and it's very rich of you to be selective when my body, my choice, then conviene. All right. So then what's funny, of course, when you read this column, I'm not going to read you the rest of this boring column from Max Pizarro, right? You can sort of, go down and read this video and watch it with like 20 views. Because again, that's what Max Pizarro videos give you, right? 20, 50. I think on Max's best day, I think he had like 150 views on some convention in Atlantic City where I think he tried to interview Leroy Jones and some other people. On his best day, 150 views. Jesus, Max, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should pull that video. Come back and talk to me when you can pull 2,000, 3,000 views, almost 4,000 views on a video like yours truly. Get back to me when you can do that instead of, publishing the most boring of videos and the most boring of interviews and the most boring of columns. But, again, credit to Max to leave his house in Central Jersey to venture up to, Montclair on a very chilly October morning in Montclair to see a bunch of insufferable feminists and all these cat ladies. Folks, look at the pictures there. Okay, look at the videos there. Okay, I could smell the cat piss like 2 counties away. That's how much you could tell it stunk there, reeking of cat piss, with all these cat ladies having their meltdowns and all these insufferable feminists and all these other like woke activists, again, bitching and moaning about not being able to terminate pregnancies in states that they don't live in. I'm going to say it again because it seems like to go in one ear and not the other. Okay? Here in New Jersey, your reproductive rights, ladies, are not in jeopardy. Okay? What happens in Alabama, in Texas, in Florida, Mississippi, Kentucky, that's none of your business. Do you think people in Kentucky and Alabama are like, wow, man, you know what? New Jersey has the highest property tax in the country. Man, New Jersey, they really love to coddle illegals by spending money from the budget to create nonsensical bureaucracy like the Office of New Americans, or coddling illegals by giving taxpayer dollars and putting into a legal fund to represent them in court and give them legal counsel at our expense, right? Do you think they care about? No, they don't care about that. So whatever they're doing in Kentucky, Mississippi, Florida, that's none of your business. Okay, ladies, here in New Jersey, if you get knocked up tomorrow, okay, and you want to reconsider your pregnancy, guess what? You have plenty of resources here. You have Planned Parenthood that gets millions of dollars from the federal government and, of course, from the state government in Trenton, right, to subsidize all these clinics all over New Jersey. So if you have to reevaluate your pregnancy and you want to terminate for whatever reason, hey, I'm all for that. I'm a pro-choice guy, okay? There's no lacking resources here. Okay. Or for a lot of you ladies during the summer, right? During single girl summer, or now that the NFL is back, right? And Sunday Fun Day is out and about, you know what's going on. A lot of ladies are making really bad decisions with alcohol on Sundays. We all know they did that. Okay. We know they did it during the summer. Okay. Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, right? Even last night was today being Columbus Day. Okay. You've had 2 or 3 days of bad decision making and alcohol. Guess what? You wake up this morning and you need a plan B, you can get one. Okay. But yet a lot of you out there will continue to bitch and moan and talk about, again, the ability, you not having the ability to terminate pregnancies in states that you don't live in. Okay. That's all the Hobbs decision did, is relegate to the states. But you'd rather virtue signal. You'd rather, again, a bunch of annoying feminists and cat ladies, again, who stink of cat piss. We all know them. I've gone to these rallies. They stink of cat piss. Okay, the only reason I go to these rallies is maybe, I don't know, hit on a feminist and, maybe get her number. I don't know. That's the only reason I go to these things. Okay? But again, reproductive rights are not the issue here in New Jersey, Max. You should be writing about that. You should be writing how unaffordable it is here, how inflation is still a problem, how kitchen table issues, that's what's governing this election cycle, not marijuana expungements, not reproductive rights, Max. Come on, you're better than that. Well, I thought you were. But I get it. You're another guy, again, in his mid to late 60s, who, again, continues to be oblivious. Write about issues that matter with 28 days to go, Max. Not about these ridiculous reproductive rights rallies. No one's reproductive rights in New Jersey are under attack. Again, if a woman gets knocked up tomorrow, she can terminate her pregnancy whenever she wants. Okay? For all these women that make bad decisions on Sundays during Sunday Fun Day and they drink too much and they wake up Monday morning next to someone they probably don't want to be next to, guess what? They can get a plan B tomorrow morning. Come on, stop with the outrage. Stop with this ridiculous nonsense. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of these feminists and these insufferable cat ladies, stink of cat piss, lecturing us during 28 days to go. Max, do better, bro. Give me a break. At least be consistent in calling out some of the hypocrisy here, because that's all it is messaging. What matters is food prices, gas, how we're going to afford to heat our homes. That's what matters, Max, not this nonsense in Montclair. But of course, when we talk about virtue signaling, and that's what Insider NJ does with a lot of their writers, right? Sleepy Allen, right? Someone wake him up. It's like 7 o'clock. It's really, really past his bedtime, right? Because he's not watching his Mets, right? Or, of course, Max Pizarro writing boring ass columns. Of course, when we talk about other virtue signalers at Insider NJ, of course, how can we forget little JJ last year? Yes, the resident little bitch himself from Insider NJ having a party in his pants because the president of the United States, right, and this is as clear as day, coming out last week said, as I've said before, no one should be in jail for using or possessing marijuana. Today, I'm taking steps to end our failed approach. Allow me to lay them out. Yeah, you should talk to your vice president about that, because no woman in my adult life sent more people to jail for marijuana than during her tenure as Attorney General for the state of California. But again, Jay forgets that. Jay won't call out Kamala Harris, right? He'd rather, again, have a party in his pants and have this ongoing erection about President Joe Biden, I guess, legalizing marijuana. And I get it, Jay, that, that's all you live for. Your virtue signaling, your garbage columns, and smoking weed every hour of every day. I get all that. I get it. And your sob story, which we're all tired. I know I'm tired of it. I'm tired of hearing about it. And I know many other people in New Jersey are. The only difference is I have the guts to say that openly, while other people just sort of shake and nod and smile at you. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to be like, I'm tired of your sob story. I really am. I could give 2 drops of piss, really, about your sob story. And I don't mind saying that publicly. But what's funny about, Jay here talking about, again, this perpetual party in his pants about let's go, Brandon, when it comes to weed. And talking about the fact that Joe Biden wants to pardon a boatload of low-level federal cannabis crimes. Yeah, the same way he's going to forgive student loans. Yeah, Jay, get back to me when he does that. Okay? This is nothing more than messaging to try to win over votes and buy votes, essentially, with 28 days to go. Okay? Yeah, we're going to forgive all student loans. Really? That hasn't happened. And there's been sort of a modification of it too, right, though? But Jay won't tell you that. Because, again, Jay, like Maxie and Alan Steinberg and Bob Henley, and not Fred Snowflake. I like Freddie. Freddie doesn't lack integrity. But the other members of the Lollipop Guild do. But, again, Jay won't tell you that. Because, again, it requires you, Jay, to have integrity, to talk about things with integrity. Again, that's a 4-syllable word you struggle with. You know what I'm saying? So while you're having a party in your pants and blowing a load on yourself about, oh my God, the president's going to legalize weed and the president's going to legalize, he's going to forgive student loans. He's not going to do any of that stuff. It's election time, marketing, and electioneering. Get back to me when the president forgives student loans, and get back to me when the president finally expunges all these federal crimes and all these, marijuana offenses that people have been charged with. Get back to me when that happens, Jay. In the meantime, I get it. You live and breathe to smoke weed every day. That's all you're good for. And I understand that. I don't smoke weed. I don't need to. I don't know. It's never interested me. I don't care to. I'm never going to smoke weed. It's not interesting to me. Okay? What's my vice? I don't know. A good glass of wine, female tail. I mean, that's pretty much my vice. Okay? And we're all different, and that's fine. But Jay, be a little more realistic. If you can't see through this nonsense from the president of the United States trying to buy votes, whether it's forgiving student loans or trying to expunge marijuana crimes, come on, Jay. I used to think you were smarter than that, but clearly we've learned that, and we've seen a systemic, buildup of a lack of intellectual capital there when it comes to that. Jay, you should know better, bro. But again, when it comes to garbage journalism and falling for yet another prank or yet another lie by the left in not just Trenton, but nationally, you can always rely on Jay Lasser to sort of convey the virtue signaling and convey all of his elation and jubilation when it comes to marijuana and everything else that he wants to demonize Republicans about. Yeah, Jay, get back to me when the president of the United States, when you wake him up from his nap, can do any of the aforementioned. That's not going to happen. But again, it requires you and Maxie, everybody else at Insider and Jay, right? Except for Snowflake, because I like Freddie. All right, or even Petey. Again, all he cares about is just making money. It's not like putting reputable content up, and intellectually honest content is important to him or the Graham family. That doesn't seem to be high on the priority list. But I already knew that. I worked there for 3 years. So I know exactly what the modus operandi is at Insider and Jay. So again, when we think about bad journalism and garbage journalism, folks, we think about the worst journalists of the week. And here in New Jersey, congratulations to Charles Style, to Chucky. Good job there, Chucky. To Maxie. Again, you can get back to riding horses. And to little JJ, again, this week's winners of the worst journalists in the state of New Jersey. And once again, folks, that's our show for this week. Again, I want to thank you all for tuning in here. Special thank you to Jorge Cabrera, the immediate past president of the Rutgers Business School Alumni Association, for a very enlightening conversation about not just higher education, but really what students can expect by going to such a nationally reputably ranked business school or any school within the Rutgers University system. I'm a product of it. So all the greatness you see here, again, I owe to Rutgers University. So thank you to the undergraduate campus at New Brunswick and the graduate campus in Newark for helping me be the best person I can be, again, due to multiple degrees that, as you can see behind me, I'll obviously hang on my wall. So shout out to Jorge Cabrera. Congratulations to him. Moving to Chicago, new job. See you when you're back here during the holiday season. All right, stay safe over there in the Windy City. And folks, again, as a reminder, you can see I'm rocking pink. You can see the Jersey First TV logo here all throughout the month of October. We are proud to partner with the American Cancer Society and Making Strides Against Breast Cancer as we're raising awareness about Breast Cancer Awareness Month. This Thursday, remember, folks, at Son Cubano Thursday night, October the 13th, which is located at 40-4 Riverwalk Place along the waterfront in West New York, New Jersey. It's the 15th edition of a Professor's Quest to Save Breasts, once again to benefit the American Cancer Society. We'll be partying starting at 7 p.m., going until closing time, which is right around 1 a.m. Great prizes, excellent DJ, magnificent networking opportunities, and of course, the outstanding service you always can expect from Son Cubano, one of the premier venues in the New Jersey, New York, tri-state area. A suggested donation of $10 at the door, folks, is greatly appreciated. All proceeds during the evening. Again, we have great raffle prizes, so bring some cash and buy raffle tickets. Plenty of restaurants, other great gifts as well. Restaurants include Ventanas on the Modern in Fort Lee, Trattoria Napoli in Union City, Waterside in North Bergen, Son Cubano, as well as outstanding gift packages from Gun for Hire if you're interested in, exercising your Second Amendment rights. A great venue. In addition to Hand and Stone, Spa in Edgewater, and many, many more prizes. Folks, get there early. Buy your raffle tickets. Once again, all proceeds benefit the American Cancer Society. And since 2008, yours truly has been proud to partner with all of my hosts throughout the years. I thank you all for helping me out in this cause. We've been able to raise almost $58,000 to benefit Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. So I'll see you this Thursday night, folks. Mark on your calendars for a Professor's Quest to Save Breasts. Again, Always check out Jersey First at their website, jerseyfirst.org/TV. Of course, jerseyfirst.org/TV/Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. Don't forget to share it on your social media, folks. Sharing is caring. And of course, you can share it from our YouTube page, also on Facebook via StreamYard, as well as on our Twitter and Instagram as well. Folks, I can't say enough about what really makes this show successful. It's not just our guests, our outstanding guests, but it's you, my loyal viewing audience every week that tunes in every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time for Real Talk with Fernando Uribe via Jersey First TV. Without you, I would not have the traffic that I get. And not just, a couple hundred views like some other propagandists, wannabe journalists, right? Award-winning journalists, right? No, we're talking about thousands of views on this show. Folks, it's not bragging if you can back it up. And I do that every single week. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it is always real talk right here with Jersey First TV. I am New Jersey's premier and now 7-time, that's right, folks, 7-time award-winning journalist, top 100 Latino via Latino Spirit online magazine, and of course, the Garden State's most beloved and factually accurate Hispanic commentator, Fernando Uribe, saying so long, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be there in Philly this Sunday. Let's beat the Eagles and let's give them that L that they so richly deserve. So let's go Cowboys. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching.